You are.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. I can't believe that it's the week before Christmas. How exciting is that? So Walt is still fiddling with the camera so that hopefully you'll be able to see us loud and clear. And just want to make sure that we can give you our last 2018. Woo! There's
See,
Walt.
I'm here too.
I'm Sheila. Woo! And we have Cynthia over here, who is, forever.
Technical support.
Technical support. Ooh, ooh. Hi, how are you? Good to see you. Happy holidays. I just can't believe it.
I know.
Number 10. This is number 10. We started in March last year on our Facebook Live videos.
Different house.
In a whole different house. And now here we are at the end of the year.
Yes.
The week of Christmas.
And it is 62 degrees outside in Colorado.
I know. Sorry, guys. I hope that's not offensive to bring up to some of those who are suffering from lots of snow. And we have barking dogs, too, just to create good background noise for you.
Yes.
And so we thought today...
What are we going to do?
Yeah, what the heck are we going to do?
I bet it has to do with the holidays.
So I hope you guys had fun last time when we talked about holiday baking. This time we're going to talk about sort of holiday menus and the way in which we can plan for the holidays. And since we're a week before Christmas, I thought we'd kind of talk about a big thing with how you live a healthy lifestyle, which is kind of what Livliga is all about, which is planning. I know. Sometimes people think that's the big P word. It's not the big F word or the big whatever. It's the big P word. For planning, that kind of P.
Plan ahead.
Plan ahead. Because organizing and planning, although it doesn't have to be complicated, makes a huge difference in terms of our ability to control what we eat, control our food environment, and also create an environment for a happy, healthy occasion, particularly when it's this stressful time of year, right? Because we got Christmas going on. And then inevitably there are other things, like we have a chimney and a fireplace being built out there because we have this new home and we're going to create this fun area out there. Cynth, can you tell me if people are asking questions so that we can make sure we say hi to everybody? Hi, happy holidays. Okay, so I'm going to sing a little bit today. Walt and I did madrigals together when we were growing up.
Years ago.
So we love singing together.
We do.
And when the kids and we were growing up, because we're still growing up, we had caroling parties.
Yeah, I know. We're going to start that again.
Yeah, so Walt has already said we have our piano back in our lives, and that next year. So maybe we'll do something with having a caroling party next year with Facebook Live, because we're going strong. Yeah. We are looking forward to having more fun times together with you guys in 2019. So in getting organized, I think it's really important that we talk about some things related to how we plan, right? And like why. So I think one of the biggest kind of challenges for me, and I'm wondering if this is the case for you guys as well, when I was sort of morphing into this healthier lifestyle, was the fact that we have very strong traditions in our family, right?
And everybody does.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, and we bring those traditions also, like when you get married. Walt and his family had traditions, and we had traditions, and trying to make those healthier ones around food becomes really important. And so one of the things for Christmas, I don't know, this will be interesting to see what you guys do. So we do the turkey thing at Thanksgiving and love it. And we actually do turkey year round now because...
We really do.
Wait, you guys, in the spring, I already have planned, I think it is springish, spring to summer.
Okay.
Walter does the most amazing, see, Cynthia in the background is saying the best, roasted turkey breast. So you can bake it in the oven, and we'll talk about that when he demonstrates this deliciousness.
But at one point, we got a grill that has a rotisserie, and the great thing about a rotisserie, specifically with the turkey breast, is because it's rotating all the time, all the juices stay.
Oh my God, it is so good.
So it ends up
we can't get off on this.
Okay.
We really can't.
Okay.
But it is really delicious.
Something to look forward to.
Exactly. So, but getting back to Thanksgiving.
Fennel seeds are the secret.
See, we're really talking Thanksgiving here.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we're not talking turkey breast. We're talking Thanksgiving and all turkey. And then for Christmas, we change it up. And so it really was through kind of my family. Your family had a similar tradition.
We did beef, but we didn't do standing rib roast.
Right.
We did filet. Right.
Yeah, they did the tenderloin. And I grew up with a standing rib roast, or prime rib to some of us. And that, you know, of course, is a fine thing to eat. It's just, again, amounts with that. But then we had all the different other things that go with it. We had the oyster stuffing. Did any of you guys grow up with that? I find that that's unique.
Both sides.
Yeah.
I'm
wondering if that was sort of a Midwestern or a Missouri, Kansas City thing. Although Andrew MacArthur grew up with it, but he came originally from Kansas, or his family did, from Kansas City. But anyway, I find that interesting about that. And then, of course, you have to have like several different starches and several different vegetables, and all of them had lots of butter and cream.
Heavy cream, lots of butter.
And so then it's like, how do you pare it down? And you know, this becomes important too when we're kind of the ones in charge of cooking.
Right.
It becomes overwhelming to have all those things. So, you know, we've kind of pared it down so that we have kept to our favorite things. And on occasion, when we have other people with us, we'll add something. Mm-hmm. But now we're going to have for our Christmas this year, we're going to have the standing rib roast. I got 3 ribs because who needs, you know, the 7 rib roast?
When there are.
Yeah, Walter's kind of disappointed. I am still going to be able to make that roast beef hash.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
Okay. Well, 3 ribs really is serving for 6 people.
Exactly.
In the old way, and so that could be.
Yeah, right. And it'll be like
10
12.
Yeah, right.
So we do that, and then cream spinach, and I'm going to talk about that for in a minute. And then we used to do Yorkshire pudding, and we'd use the drippings from the roast beef to make put in the grease in the pan and to make it woof. Well, then we evolved because we discovered popovers are really delicious, and they're like 10 times more healthy. And you can also...
I thought they were the same thing, just a different shape.
Well, they are. It's just that...
but you don't put as much...
So they're individual. You control your amount, because you know, it's sort of like the muffin thing, right?
Right.
Because we do it in a muffin tin. You can also, there's Yorkshire pudding tins, so
which
you
are
really
like
get into
twice
this.
as large as this. So this again is a good control because it's a little smaller.
But also, the whole point is you control that, but then also you don't have to do the drippings, or if you do the drippings, you can do them in a very different way, which is what we're going to talk about when we do the Yorkshire pudding here. When we do the popovers instead of the Yorkshire pudding here. And then, and the cream spinach also, I found a much healthier version. So, first things first, you plan your meal, you simplify so you can actually do it and enjoy it. And if you can do some of the stuff ahead of time, and that's why kind of our punchline tonight is somehow I think she's going to have to, has she been fed? Probably. Sorry, that's little old Lily. She's an old lady and she's hungry, you know, as all of us can get hungry, and so I think she needs her dinner for tonight. And so one of the things that we're talking about as our ultimate dessert for tonight is poached pears with homemade, of course they're home cooked too, but with a homemade chocolate sauce that's really delicious. And it's dark chocolate.
Really flavorful.
Goes really well with the
Not
pears.
as you might think.
And so also you can change up those traditions. So first of all, it's planning so that you can control and simplify. Second thing is looking at your favorites in terms of the recipes that you have as sort of the classic things for your family, and then looking for the healthier versions of that. So our
choose and edit.
Choose and edit, but also edit in terms of alternatives.
Right, in terms of what you're choosing and how you do it.
Right, exactly. And so, our cream spinach is a much lighter cream spinach. It's a cooking light version of it, and it's delicious.
I grew up making cream spinach where you got all the water out of it, you added flour, and then you added so much butter. You really made a roux within the cream spinach, and then you added cream, and it was the richest, most buttered and creamy thing. But what you do now is totally different, and it's wonderful.
But it's still creamy.
Yeah,
and it's not over the top rich, because I also, quite frankly, at this stage of my life, things that are super rich suddenly take all the enjoyment out of it. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but that is one of those things that has really altered with me. I don't really like it anymore, but I do want my cream spinach. And then the other thing we were talking about is changing it up. So you get organized, you update those recipes to be healthier, and then you can also choose to have different desserts. Or if you still have to have the same dessert, pick something that you can do ahead of time that's a better choice for and still celebratory. Because to me, part of it is, don't you agree, that when we're doing these recipes, that part of it is making it unique. So it's not something every day. So it's not something you really cook at other times of the year, so that it remains special and memorable. Because isn't that why we're doing what we're doing, you know, for the holidays, is to make it that special moment, to make it memorable, so that we can share that with the ones we love and enjoy, those that we have that come for our holiday. It may not be family, it may be a friendly gathering, which we've done many times as well. We often enjoy inviting people who may not have somewhere else they need to be, and so we make this the place they need to be, and it enriches the whole celebration, the whole sharing, because that's what it's all about. So, you know, so those are kind of the three things. And then also, I'm gonna ask Walt to kind of talk to you for a minute, because we really do. We're a unique couple, as you can tell.
We are.
We are so unique. But what does make us a little different than others is that we truly share, and we truly do equally contribute, but in different ways. And so Walt is actually the one that does the flowers and sets the gorgeous table. Well, it doesn't mean that he doesn't help with the cooking. It doesn't mean that I don't help bringing the flowers into the house. Most of the time, although you do that too.
Yep.
But he really creates the environment within which we have this wonderful festive holiday meal. Or two or three.
It's really fun. I mean, it adds enjoyment to the whole thing. You're really adding beauty.
And you're actually creating, you're having an enjoyable moment yourself by doing it, right?
Right.
Because it makes you happy to do.
It's a little bit of sort of an art moment where you are
it's
exactly
creative.
And thinking about what you're having.
Cooking is creative too. I mean, it's all a kind of a creative process.
Yeah. And we've always been ones to be very aware of what we're eating on and how that then is enhanced by what we do. And so then, you know, for the flowers, it's really either thinking about what the holiday is, what the event is, and then how you are going to.
We have to go into that for a minute, if you don't mind, because we have to do this right this second, because it's going to take a while to cook. So I actually probably should have started already. So this is the popover. So we got to get the popovers popped into the oven, and so we have the oven at 375. Walt actually is going to whisk. So what we're doing is taking this with a little. We're doing olive oil because my spray was olive oil for the tins. So you're just putting this in like this and just going around.
Okay. So I'm
but you're not slathering. Okay.
Yeah.
You're just lightly doing
lightly.
it, and then you're going to immediately put it in there. So while I'm whisking this,
I got it.
Because the trick to popovers, you guys, is the fact that your tin is actually really hot when you pour the batter in, and that causes it to puff up. Have you guys ever had popovers? They're really this sort of magical thing, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to show them to you, because they're super easy to make. They're super special, because whenever else do you ever make popovers? They're festive. They're festive. They're totally
but they're also
festive.
light and airy.
They're light and airy.
And
they're very calorie friendly, may I say. I mean, of course, if you have lots of them, they're not so calorie friendly. But the recipe
and when you
that I'm using, it's 141 calories for a popover. That's this light and airy, puffy thing. It looks big when it comes out of the oven, and they're so original looking, right? Mm-hmm. So they're a lot of fun, and because they're super easy, this is one of those things where you can measure up and do that ahead of time. But you really can only cook them like right before. So it takes about 40 minutes to cook them. So I hope you can hold on that long. But I wanted to show you. So it's super easy. This is just salt and flour, a cup of flour, and I think I did a half teaspoon of salt. And of course, you know, I always do the kosher salt when I cook. And this is my King Arthur flour that I love. And there's gotten so much more.
What do you have in the bowl already?
Okay, so thank you for that. Thank you. I was just rushing in there and he was reminding me. So we have a couple of eggs, we have a cup of milk, and I think that's it.
And you probably used the 2% or
I used 1% milk. Okay. So I actually we only do non-fat in this household, but the holidays I go way.
1%?
Let's go way overboard with 1% milk.
Oh my God.
So it makes a difference with the popovers. What can I say? And I think, what I'm going to end up doing, can you check the butter?
Sure.
If it's all melted? So then you do 1 tablespoon of butter. So it's the eggs with the milk, and you whisk it up, and then you let it sit for a half hour. And now I'm putting the flour in, and I'm whisking it in with the egg and the milk. And that you can't even do 10 seconds then. So
that's
no,
okay.
yeah. So and then as this is heating up, I'm mixing this together, and then we're going to put the tablespoon of butter in, and that's it. So how many ingredients is that? Like 4?
Yep. It's really
So,
it's a very
five.
simple.
5 with the butter. And so it's super simple. These are not complicated. And the hardest part is just coordination. And again, planning ahead does a couple of things. You know what your menu's going to be, you know what your recipes are, but also Walt and I, believe it or not, we actually even have a timeline. So when we have guests over, when we're family, it's a little different, but when we have guests over, we actually figure out when things need to go in. So that
when you're going to
becomes
sit down,
important.
when it needs to come out, when it's going to be served, and really
Right.
just work
And that
backwards.
may be Uber for you guys, and you don't have to do that. But when you're coordinating food that has to be cooked, it becomes really handy. I wish I could see who's here, and if you have any questions. So maybe Walt can look at that for half a second.
Hey, Adam's here, and Cynthia, and
Adam.
Eliza. How about that? That's so
Oh,
nice.
it's so nice.
And Lauren, so good.
And Lily just came back. Oh,
Would a
great.
flour
So good to see
substitute
you.
work in this? Lauren asked.
Yeah, I think absolutely. This is, gluten is one of those things with the eggs in it. That's kind of again, it's something that can be used. You could also just use gluten-free flour. So I don't know if you guys do that, but like Red Mill has a gluten-free flour. So if you don't want to go, you can experiment ahead of time. I always encourage people, you can absolutely substitute, but check it out ahead of time because things have a different consistency. And one of the things that's key here, and that's why some flours wouldn't work well, is that it's fluffy and airy. It has 0 leavening in it. So you need to make sure that you've got a flour that will work well with that idea, that it's not heavy, so it'll actually fluff up and do what it needs to do. Has that been in for 5 minutes?
Probably close, not quite.
So anyway, I actually even had the milk and the 2 eggs to show you guys today because I know it's really helpful to visually.
So is the butter going in here?
The butter's going in here.
Yeah.
So I should do the butter. Do you think I should do the butter?
And I have a spatula for you too.
Oh, he's so good. It keeps me on the straight and narrow because otherwise sometimes, I do get talking and
multitasking.
Yeah. So, but coordinating things and planning really helps, especially, when you've got other people in your kitchen. A lot of times in holidays, you've got other people kind of doing some piece of the meal. So I always find it's very helpful to plan ahead so you know what all the different things are. And I know that particularly those that are post-op, bariatric, or living with diabetes, sometimes it's hard because you feel like you're the one that has to do the different thing, not only in portions, but the type of food that you're eating. And that's why I think, number one, taking control of it. So, I love being the one that provides the meal because then I have control over it, or a certain dish, right? Because you can make that dish and own it and enjoy it.
I think you're probably at 5.
Okay, let's do it. Let's bring it out, and we're gonna
so it
pour
does
this
look
in.
hot.
And I'm going to. Did you get this out?
I did for you.
You're so smart. So we're gonna use our trusty 2 tablespoons, 8-cup live spoon.
And the goal is to do this while everything stays hot.
Yes, I know. So we gotta go quick, and we're only supposed to do 9 technically. I'm gonna post all the recipes like I do, but it's blog.livligahome.com is where you can find a lot of the recipes. Like the chocolate sauce is already on the blog, and I will give links to all the recipes that I used. I of course fiddle with my recipes, as you know. So I will also let you know how I changed things
So you're going
up.
to divide that up between 9 cups? Is that the idea?
That's what it says. I sort of am tempted just to go ahead and do it. So I'm going to cheat because I do
making
this.
12.
I'm making 12.
And then she's
That's
going to add a
another
little bit
way
too.
of controlling things, right? So we don't always have to do things exactly. They'll puff up, and they may not be ginormous like sometimes these recipes call for, but that's okay. the main thing is the fluffiness, deliciousness, and the fact that it looks satisfying to our eyes. That's part of our visual cues philosophy. That's one of the things that I really, both of us are very interested in, is that things look delicious.
Okay, back in the oven?
Hold 5 seconds, because you pointed to that one, and I'm going to try and get this. And then you're getting it in the oven. And Synth, will you do 40 minutes, please, on your... Okay. That one's going to be a little light, but that's okay, because it's about real cooking. Real cooking in a real kitchen. So, so anyway, the popovers are going in. I've already explained how super easy they are, and how by choosing these things, we can contribute in whatever becomes the most important thing for you to contribute. Maybe that's the thing you own in a family gathering, if you don't take on actually doing the dinner. Or maybe you design the dinner and invite people to do different parts of it, and
and that's also
share.
really fun.
It's totally fun.
Coming together in the kitchen.
And part of it is the attitude of fun.
Yes.
I mean, I think the point is that fortunately, we love cooking together. We love doing that for others, and it's also fun to just sort of say, hey, we're changing it up. Sometimes it has a bad result. So I'm still living with the issue that one year I fixed baked fried chicken for my daughter for her birthday, and as you might imagine, I'm still living that down. So some things have a limit. I might have tried it once, but never again. She gets the full fry.
You don't do fried chicken often, but when you do,
twice a year,
really, really good at fried chicken.
So so there's that compromise too. So, but the other things are healthy. Shh, don't tell her. So I wanted to talk about how you can do the planning, and also the poached pear that we're going to talk about is super easy to do. Standing rib roast is about as easy as you can get, because you put salt and pepper on it and put it in the oven and cook it. And Walt may do some rosemary, he may do a couple of other things to it, but honestly, it is a very easy piece of meat to cook. And then it's a matter of just portioning it appropriately. And the cream spinach, I'll post that as well. We're not going to do that here.
And we sort of tend to do it at a high temp first, and then dropping the temp down, and then cooking it again by the weight, however long it is, and checking the internal temp.
Right, exactly. And of course, Martha Stewart has instructions.
Yeah.
So many people have instructions that we use. That's how we have done things like spatchcock a turkey. Thanks to Martha Stewart.
Right.
One year we wanted to try that out, and actually it was super cool. We haven't had Thanksgiving again to try it again. But I think you would say you would do it again.
Totally.
In a heartbeat.
Again, it cooked in less amount of time. It's all about the same thickness, because you've taken out the backbone, and so it's all flat, and so it stays really moist. It's much faster. Yeah.
So I mean, there's so many ways that you can change it up to make life easier. Is my point, and spatchcocking is one of those things. And of course, going to someone else's house and enjoying a meal is probably the easiest way to do it, which is what we did for Thanksgiving. We actually went back to Kansas City and were with with both sides of the family, but for the actual Thanksgiving meal, we had it out on a farm. I mean, how perfect is that for Thanksgiving, and with family that we hadn't been able to spend a Thanksgiving with for a really long time. And our two boys got to go horseback riding, and they played football with the gang. And
it was lots of fun.
One of the things that kind of inspired me to think about those popovers, although this is what we do every year, but our Christine, my sister-in-law, our sister-in-law, that's her tradition too, and they're also very healthy people. The way they eat,
they're the best thing in the whole wide world. My favorite thing in the whole world that I talk about for the whole year until I get to go there.
I know. So she does a magnificent job of popovers, and she's got it down to a science. And so again, it's one of those things that's very memorable. It was one of those that smells. Smells are so much a part of this, isn't it?
Absolutely.
What it looks like, what it smells like,
and that also
anticipation. Just what you were talking about. Cynthia was talking about anticipation. We think about it all year long because we're looking forward to having it. And that's what I was saying earlier, where when you have you create a tradition, you can change that tradition up. We have to. I mean, things change in life, right? You get married, you get divorced, more people come into the family, they bring their own traditions, and those things cause us to have to change. So
and that's good.
And that's the point, isn't it? That it's good, and on top of that it's nothing to be afraid of or go, oh my gosh.
I've never done it that way. That's right.
Oh no,
but
we can't do that. But we do it, and so why not do it for a healthy, better approach for a quality of life, you know?
Yep.
That fits into the whole scheme of things. I then wanted to kind of talk to you about, we always talk about, the eating we do. Usually, though, it's just, it can be just a one-day deal, right? So we may end up with that, extra something. We may go for the appetizer plus the dinner or, dessert. The things that are part of that special Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. We're Christmas Eve, folks. That's when we do our special meal. That's one meal, guys. So what do we do for that whole week leading up to Christmas and maybe that whole week afterwards? So one of the things when we talk about meal planning, I want to talk about with you guys is actually the fact that we can plan that whole week out. And yes, it can be busy, and yes, we know the parties. Well, if we think that through, we can also think about how we can make those other meals that we're preparing, and as many as we can, so that we end up with this balanced approach to the whole holiday. And so that you're in
control again. It's really taking control.
That has been probably the biggest part of my journey,
right,
is taking control and enjoying that, owning it. I'm still evolving too, by the way.
No, but enjoy the process, and you feel that when you do it, and then you know that you've done it well and succeeded, then you feel better.
And oh my God! And you enjoy it more. Honest, guys, if we're overeating and we feel miserable, and we are over drinking, and we feel miserable when we go to bed, we have a miserable night's sleep. We get up and we're feeling more exhausted than we would just because of the activity, right? So, so one of the things I want to talk about is I actually created a menu planner a long time ago. I don't know if you can see this much. This is actually something free and downloadable that you can do. We have a Get Started guide, and I can get that also added to this particular video.
Right.
And because when you download that, it has this as part of the booklet, and then you can use this to plan. I actually, in the days when I literally was doing, I would do recipes from different books or different sources. I'd want to note that in the page, and then also the calories, because when you're trying to be very mindful of your calories, like 400 calories or less a meal, or 500, whatever that is for you, then you can really plan to that.
And this may seem uber organized, but in fact, it's really helpful. I mean, Sheila always had a notebook. This week's menu was on top. Whoever got home first would start cooking the meal. And it was easy because not only did you see what we're doing tonight, but then where it was, where you found it.
I do this, you guys. This is my notebook.
It
actually needs cleaning out because it has so many things. I put the recipes in here. I have the week, and this really is proof when I'm being very mindful, because this is it. This is my book. And
but it's really helpful.
It's transformed my life, honestly. So I want to give that as an important guide to you all.
And it made mine easier too. I mean, just because then you knew where it was and you knew what we were doing.
And also when the kids, honestly, we got into this for a couple of reasons. One was that our kids actually never liked eating bad food. They really wanted to be healthy, particularly our oldest. And so we kind of made a commitment at a point when they were teenagers to say, okay, we'll start cleaning up our act. The only way to change is to do it purposefully and to actually do it mindfully, which is hence why Livliga has mindful eating, because that's what's transformative.
Right.
And so you have to plan it. You have to actually sit down and figure that out. It doesn't happen just cause, or we go to the grocery store, especially, I don't know about you, but oftentimes if you're doing the grocery store every day, not only is it more expensive, but on top of that, you usually go when you're hungry, right? It's after work and you go, you never buy the right things.
Unless you have a list.
And
you stick to the list.
And then the other thing that was really cool is both of us have been working people all of our married life. And so actually, that's a lie. There were certain periods, brief periods, where he was an at-home dad, I was an at-home mom, so we were able to be home with our kids as they were, in the very formative years. But most of the time we have been together, working together, working at different works, but working outside the home. And so our rule was whoever got home, since I planned the meals ahead of time, went to the grocery store on Sunday, because Sundays are my planning time.
Right. Whoever
got home first knew exactly, because I had the page number, I had what the menu was, to get started on it, and that really helped us, because depending on the meetings or what the schedule was for that week, that varied.
Right.
Walt would be home first, or I would be home first, or what have you. So I wanted to give you that. This actually is what we're going to be eating. I didn't use this because I couldn't.
You didn't have an extra one?
I didn't have an extra one, so that So this is what we're going to have all week. So I have planned it all out.
And through next Thursday, right?
And these are past ones. So what I've done is even things like Christmas morning breakfast. And the reason why this is it allows you to balance it out, not only to get all the food in that you need, but not every meal needs to have beef in it. Not every meal needs to have mashed potatoes or buttery vegetables. You can really think through. And also, why do we have to have meat every day? That's kind of one of those things that can be pretty heavy for a week long, leading up to Christmas, for instance.
When we certainly have stopped doing meat every day or twice a day.
And particularly this time of year when everybody's feeling overfed, it's really nice to have a lighter meal. That could be an omelet, with a salad and maybe a roll.
Or a vegetarian stew.
Right, and we also build in fish so for this next week, we're gonna actually have steak tonight because we're having the popovers. But we now get steaks and then we split them in half and we each have half of the steak, so that really makes it much easier. But tomorrow night we're having a crock pot of it's called a Caribbean seafood pot.
Yum.
And we're then having overnight lasagna, which is actually vegetarian for us. It's when the kids were growing up, that was one of their favorite meals, and it was super easy to do because you would do it the night before. It would sit in the refrigerator until you popped it in the oven.
And you use thin slices of zucchini, right? And
well, it's actually shredded.
Shredded,
yeah.
But it's the moisture
and the
from
kids
the zucchini
loved it, and it's zucchini. Is that cool or what?
that actually causes the pasta to then soften.
Yeah, and then we're gonna have chicken piccata, light on the light one, and then we're having a turkey chili. Because again, I do a fair amount of crock pots right now. This time of year, well, not only the winter time, but they're easier. You're busy. You have to go out shopping. You have to bake. You want to wrap your presents. You want to go to the Nutcracker. When you do crock pots, then you can do it first thing in the morning, and off you go, having your holiday fun or the holiday work. That you need to put in. So that's one of the things that I wanted to share was the fact that you could really, design this and build in things that are family favorites. So if you have people in from out of town who have their favorites, things like an lasagna is fun when our kids are coming home because they love it and it's kind of a fun memory of growing up. So you can build those kinds of things into the overall planning while people are in, and it doesn't have to be pizza every night, right? It's even cheaper. Honestly, if you do a chili, that's a healthy chili. There are tons of versions of them out there, and in fact, I probably have 3 or 4 on my the blog, which is blog.livligahome.com, or you can go to our website, livligahome.com, and get to the blog because it says live. It's the Livliga Live Vibrant blog, and you can find the veggie chili, the turkey chili, some of the classic chilies. A couple of months ago, we did 3 squash, 3 bean chili, which is completely vegetarian. So
really good.
And it's really good. Yep. It's one of our favorites, and it's something you can do ahead of time, and it can be a big old pot for a lot of people. You add some rolls to that and a salad, and you're set. And for a family gathering who's in from out of town, it's really as easy as it gets, and that way the kids can be home playing, you don't have to do the restaurant thing, and you're saving a heck of a lot of calories and money by doing that. So I just wanted to share that with you, that there really is a way to do, how are they doing? Do they look like they're popping up?
Yeah, they're definitely coming up.
Oh yeah.
11 and 12 are very happy.
Okay. Yeah, I did cheat. Oops, sorry. I went away from the video admiring. So hopefully they'll keep rising and look as beautiful as as I hope they will for you guys. They'll do better at lower altitude since they have no leavening. So we'll see how they do here when we're a little higher than the rest of the world. So we're gonna. So we've talked about the menu for the actual meal and how we can control that. We've talked about how you can actually design for the whole, the menus for the week, at least the dinners, where we tend to eat the most calories of the day anyway. And And then, we have talked about how you can be mindful and kind of create a balance of the types of meals that you prepare, and building in some of those family favorites that are also, though, maybe the healthier version of them. So I think, the other thing to talk about now as we wait, how many more minutes do we have?
26.
26. Oh, well, talk a really long time about decorations,
Yes,
okay? We are going to do, though,
pears.
the pears too. So between those two things, hopefully
Yeah.
we'll keep you guys informed and keep it interesting. We also have stories to tell, so
Sure.
that'll be fun to tell. So do you want to talk about decorations, or do you want me to fill in with some more stories?
Well, sure. Well, let's start with decorations.
Okay.
And I mean, I think what we were saying is it's always fun to really make the decorations play with what your theme is and what you're doing.
So theme, actually, I just heard something. So having a theme, when you say theme, what do you mean?
Well, so like in this instance, we're talking about the holiday season,
So-
and so we actually set our holiday table almost a week ago just to sort of get in the mood
I
and do
love it.
things, right? And so that meant that we really went to a simple sort of thing, but we went to solid red napkins. We have Christmas decorations, glass balls that we put in a big bowl, and they're all again deep red, but it just sort of
So
adds.
pretty.
It's very simple,
But
but
it's
it really
simple.
is a fun, elegant look, and but it's very simple. So it's all
And it
just
speaks to the holidays,
it
right?
speaks to the holidays.
So the theme is really things of the holiday, right? Of this
Right.
particular holiday, which for us, this is Christmas for us.
Right, exactly.
And so that's color, right?
Yeah.
And then it's the things of the season. So you talked about balls. That's, like those are, like the balls that you put on the Christmas tree,
Right. The Christmas decoration ornaments. Christmas
yeah,
ornaments.
That's
There we
the
go.
word
That's-
we're looking for.
Exactly. And if our trees were larger, or if we were closer to the forest, we'd probably go, snip some little branches and have fun
Saw them.
evergreen on the table.
Yeah,
'cause
we
that's
have
always
done
fun.
that. We've absolutely done
Or
that.
whole nuts. I mean, all those things that are really fun for this time
nuts.
of
That's
year.
kind of fun. They're fun to eat too, right? And you work if you have the whole ones, you have to work at it. So, right, you have to work off some of those calories.
But one of the things we found is, for years I would do really fancy, elaborate flowers, and I would do really tall things, and I do really elegant and wild things. We've gotten to the point that to do low vases, which maybe in this instance it's a mint julep cup, and just to do roses in them cut really small. And it's
And these are things we've collected over the years, or were given when the kids were babies, and so we just brought them out to use for this because they're kind of fun because they're all different, but they're all kind of similar in size.
But it makes a really strong splash of color,
Isn't that
but they're low, so they're low on the table. You can talk over them, and it's at the grocery store
And they
now
actually-
you can
these
buy
smell-
wonderful roses
They do.
incredibly inexpensively, and just do it
And
great.
this time of year, I get coupons for
Yeah.
the florist area, and so it really is very cost effective, and they'll last for the week.
Right.
And
another
if you
thing, when
water,
you cut
put
them,
some more water in them.
Yeah.
But
And when you cut them low like that, it's not a long stem rose, so it actually is easier
They
for the
stay
blossom to get water, and so they actually do stay better.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
And then we have the things that we love that we get out this time of year. So
So talking about decorations.
Oh, I know. Well, yeah, but I was even thinking finishing up the table. We actually, one of the things that we do is we like using real napkins, but we also reuse them so that you're not doing all this laundry too, right? We got to
Which-
think about all these
Again,
things.
we both grew up where you had a cloth napkin, but you use it for a week.
Right.
And to
And
do
so-
that,
So are you going to show, because we have like snowflake, we have different napkin rings. These need polishing, so guess what we're going to do? So they have Christmas trees on them, and everybody can have their own. So Cynthia will be very sure to pick out her very favorite. And so we had them with, there were 5 of us basically as a family.
and then
Every
maybe
day,
an
what?
angel
Are you
or a
picking out?
tree,
No,
a
I would
snowflake.
say, and each of these have little dots or snowflakes on them, or little dots on the snowflakes or whatever, so that we each know which is ours, so that we don't get confused of which napkin would be
Exactly.
ours.
So there's an angel, perhaps that's what Cynthia will pick. So
With
we-
the halo.
With the,
on
yeah,
it.
exactly. With the halo design
The
on it
gold.
that Walter did,
Yes.
of course. And so we all picked our own, and we were able to keep the napkins for a week. If we have a really messy meal or something, obviously we change them out. But that way you can have real napkins. They can be of fun, festive colors related to the theme, which for us right now is the holidays. And then, you know, you can have mats as well. I love, it's Spode. They're,
Yeah.
you know, they're the ones, somebody, maybe it was my husband that gave them to me years ago, but I love the Spode decorating.
It's called Spode Christmas Tree.
Christmas tree, because
Right.
I'm a holiday celebrator person. And so we have these things. Of course, now we celebrate our dinnerware, but we use the Spode things, accoutrements, the
Right.
serving pieces, and the mats. So we get those out as well. So we keep kind of adding for the week, so we can have fun with that. And we also have other fun things. We were figuring out just the other day, Walt's parents, when the kids were little, would give things each year to all the grandkids. And one year were these musical teddy bears. Cynthia, do you want to go get
Yes.
one so you can
Yes.
show? So we had 3, because we had, for our 3 kids, August, Andrew, and Cynthia. And so every year we could get them out. And so we figured out that it was about, how many years?
29 years ago.
29 years ago, and we still have these, and 2 of them still work. Sorry, Andrew, yours doesn't work anymore. Cynthia's bringing it in. You're only going to do it once, though, right? So we still love these, and that's part of the tradition too. It has nothing to do with food, right? It has to do with the memories. And can I show them? So you brought Cynthia. So this is hers, and it actually has her name on it. So just a little holiday moment.
And a little paw that says "Squeeze me."
There we go. Okay, so you can take your fella back. But we get, you know, we have nutcrackers that we get out, and we decorate the tree with ornaments that people have given us over the years, and those wonderful bells that, you know, have the dates on them. So I pack them up every year, and then we get them out. We have snowballs, and that's part of it, is the rediscovery of these things every year too, and being able to put them out around our house to remember. And you can have just one box full. You don't have to do this crazy thing that I do. But I guess what we're trying to say is that it is about memories, and
Yes.
it is about being able to talk about those memories and to be able to share them with everybody. And we even have things that are like a Noah's Ark that I actually pack up and put with the other things, with the idea that when little kids come, they have something fun to play with that, you know, it's all wooden, which is like unusual in this day and age for people to experience. So it's part of the specialness. And we have this fun toy that's sort of like a jointed car that goes down a track. So we have fun things that people can play with, and we even have a tradition for New Year's where somebody always gives us smoked salmon for Christmas, and so we save it for the New Year. And so New Year's Day, when nobody wants to do anything, we stay in our comfy cozies, which may even be our PJs, and we get out the games. Traditionally, it was games that people gave us for Christmas. And one year, Pretty Pretty Princess was a game that Cynthia was given, and then sort of as a hoot and howl, we get it out every year now and play Pretty Pretty Princess.
Yes,
Whoever's
we do.
there, so male, female, whatever age, we all play Pretty Pretty Princess.
And you had to play it.
And you had to play it. That was part of the rule. Was
It
if
is
you
a
were
rule.
in the room, you had to play Pretty Pretty Princess. So we, you know, the fun thing is that those are healthy things, you know, playing, hanging out, playing together, doing these silly things that keep the memories going, and that you can share with other people who may be passing through your
What's sort of
life.
like, you know, we talked about anticipation before a holiday meal. Thinking about it actually makes you appreciate it more. You get more enjoyment when you actually
You
have
really do, with the anticipation.
I mean, that's and in this sense, also creating memories and then repeating those memories also just sort of makes it stronger and stronger. So things we did years ago, when we do it as a tradition every year, it imbues it with that much more meaning.
It really
as well.
does.
Yeah.
I agree with that. So now, should we talk poached pears?
I think we should talk dessert.
Oh, let's talk dessert.
That's
I mean,
right.
let's
And
get to
again,
the real stuff.
You know, poached pears are one of my favorite recipes. And it really goes back to the grandmother of a dear friend of ours who did an incredible poached pear.
Who was that?
Ernestine.
Oh yes! Again,
Yeah.
Andrew and his family are so
Yeah.
much a part of our lives,
Yeah,
and she was very famous for her.
She did do a creme
poached
anglaise.
pears.
We're doing actually a simple dark chocolate that's not at all as caloric as the creme anglaise.
So I'm looking at some of the stories that I wanted to share with you. And I really think one of the fun ones, and you talked to Ernestine and Poach Fair, and one of the special things that happened when we first launched Livliga, we launched with just 2 sets. So we had the Halsa and the Vivente. And
I thought you were saying we launched with just 2 people.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, the 2 of us. Yeah, we really did launch it, just the 2 of us. But what was really, and we knew, and we decided that we needed to do PR, right? So because no one knew who we were, no one knew what this Livliga thing was, no one knew how really innovative it was.
Or that they needed it.
Or yeah, exactly. Well, that's the biggest thing. Is recognizing that maybe this would help you portion control, and an easy way to do portion control, and to create a beautiful environment where it made it something that could be enjoyable, really. So anyway, you know how every year, I don't know if you guys do the same thing, but there's always that challenge of what's the big thought, right? Particularly when you're dealing with business and business planning, it's always like, what's that stretch goal? What's that dream that would really be the thing that you want to have happen? Well, I actually did that, and I was part of a women's chamber group. I still am, I just don't ever get to go to the meetings, but because we travel so much, but we all had that where we kind of went around the room and talked about our stretch goal, and I said what I'd really love to do is meet Brian Wansink, because Brian was sort of the king of kings then. He popularized the whole concept of kind of a healthy lifestyle, and how we could create these healthy environments because of the fact that we are really driven by our behavior, and in fact Livliga is based on that. It's based on our behavior. That's why we call our philosophy the visual cues philosophy, because everything, all the decisions we make around food are about our eyes. Our eyes make all the decisions about the food we eat. So Brian Wansink had written a book called Slim by Design. It was all the idea of how you create an environment that's supportive of you. So I thought this would be so cool to be able to meet him, and then it sort of evolved when we reached out that we could actually do an event with him because this book had just come out. We were launching this plateware, and it really spoke to what he was talking about in terms of creating a right-sized environment. So we just really seemed to work so well together, and so we reached out to him. How bold and crazy was that? You know, head of the Cornell food and brand lab. Right. And so we reached out to him, and he could not have been more friendly and gracious, and said, sure, talk to my publicist people and see what we can do. And we had this dream. And again, it is about relationships. It is about who you know, and thinking about that. How could that? And so we ended up having a dinner party. Do you remember this?
Oh, I totally remember.
It was
wonderful.
So magical, you guys. We had it at the International Culinary Center in New York City. We took over the top floor, which is where they have events. We had Chef Tim work with us. I had this menu that I thought would be important to have because, again, it was going to be a mindful menu.
But it did
use
include
all of our different. Don't you take my punchline?
I got it. I know.
Don't you take my punchline?
Okay.
So we had hors d'oeuvres and drinks that we served, and we had everything on our dishware. So our Vivente, and I think we just did Vivente that night because it was so beautiful and so elegant, and we could create, because we had this beautiful tablescape that we had the Vivente. So, but we had a soup, and we had dinner, and we had dessert. And guess what that dessert? Walter, what was that dessert?
I don't remember. No,
you do remember.
Poached pears with a dark chocolate sauce that we ladled on with our 2 tablespoon lift spoon. It is so good.
Yes. So after that magical moment, because you know how there are moments that just stick with you because they were so special, and it was, and we had journalists there. So I mean, the whole idea was to introduce the world, the folks in the magazine world, and the journalists that are bloggers and wrote for magazines in all the different platforms, because all that was happening just 5 years ago. And so we had people from Cosmo, we had people from, what were some of the other magazines that we had? Women's Health was there, and so Family Circle.
Right.
We had a wonderful group of individuals who then ended up writing about Livliga, and we were in all those magazines and online. And you can find many of them actually on our website in our press area, because we're really proud of that moment. So they were there, and we were kind of trying to wow them. So that's why we had this fancy dinner party. And Brian talked about his new book and spoke very highly of Livliga, for which we are very grateful. Those look like they need to come out. How many more minutes then?
I think because we maybe did less.
Yeah, and they're not as puffy, you guys. I'm so sorry that they're not as glorious as I'd hoped they'd be.
But they actually look great.
Do they look great? But anyway, I didn't get the recipes for the poached pear and the chocolate sauce, so I decided to go on my own journey to create.
So they might
here are
be
the popovers. They're not quite as puffy as they should be, but they're still pretty cool looking.
Yeah.
And that's the whole idea, something that's special and different. And I think they'll taste just fine. But it's just a challenge to do that up high.
And when it says make 9, maybe we should have made 9.
I should have just made 9.
We may have just learned.
You know, but that's me in the kitchen, you guys. I can't resist it. I'm always trying new things, and sometimes they work better than others. And I do learn from it, generally speaking, don't I?
Yeah.
Like, don't do that again, or maybe I should have done what the recipe told me to do. But anyway, so back to the poached pear as Walter's fiddling with the popovers. So I did. I worked on figuring out how to enjoy poaching the pears. And a lot of times people use red wine to poach the pear because it turns the pear into this luscious red color. Well, it's great with chocolate sauce. Oh, Walter, I'm going to get interrupted again.
Well, see how wonderful they do. I mean, they really are fun, and they're great, and they're really...
Usually they're
fun.
much
but
puffier.
they can, and curl up and really
right,
curl around.
Exactly. But they're still... if they turn out like that, you guys, totally fine. And we'll open one up so you can see, because they're very airy on the inside. And you can do a teaspoon of honey if you want to, or add a little butter when they're hot. They're really delicious that way. Again, your choice how you want to. But they can also just sop up a little bit of the juice from the meat if you're having it for dinner, and that can really be all that needs to go on it, because they have wonderful things in them, the ingredients, to make them luscious to taste just on their own. So Walt's gonna, are we trying one out?
I think you need to do that now.
Okay, let's do it now. So we're it's so hot, it's gonna be hard. But so they're not as airy, so these are more kinky looking.
Interesting.
Yeah. So but I promise you, when you do them in your space, they won't be quite like this. I think this is because we are higher up. But they look really pretty. I hope. Let's taste it. It's kind of hot, but let's see. You want?
Sure.
No. Cynth, you want to try too?
Oh, hot. Careful.
It's very hot. They taste delicious. They really do. It's just a little more eggy, kicky than, for instance, Aunt Christine's. But they're good.
Okay.
I could just eat some more of that.
I think we should talk about pears.
So let's bring this over. I actually need another plate now, because
Sure.
can you get me another celebrate?
Little guy.
Yeah. So one of the things that we did in the dinner party, Chef Tim did the red wine poached pear, which is lovely. But I think the chocolate sauce, there's not much contrast, right? Because you got the dark red with the dark chocolate, which, if that's what you're going for, I mean, for Valentine's Day, super sexy, just saying. But I wanted to do a lighter color pear, poach it, and then pour the chocolate sauce on it. So both of these are things that I kind of modified from other recipes, which I'll post. But if you can see, with poached pears, there are a couple of things you want to make sure you do. One is to find ones that have stems, so that they look really pretty when you're presenting it. And you peel them. And the other thing you want to do is make sure that they're level. So if your pear isn't standing up straight on its own, you need to cut a little off the bottom so that it will stand up straight, or at least it doesn't have to be straight as much as it needs to be upright.
Exactly.
Right.
And you can actually cut it at a slight angle so it has a bit of it tilt.
Right.
Which
So this again is super easy, and this is something you can do actually a couple of days ahead of time, is poach your pears. So if it's going to be for Christmas Eve or Christmas Day or for one of your holidays, this could be great for New Year's too, you know. Because it is again one of those celebratory kinds of.
It's festive.
It's festive, and so this actually was done with orange juice and water. So with like 2 cups of orange juice, 3 cups of water. There were 5 peppercorns in it, and you know the vanilla bean. You get that, and you just slice it in half and put it in there, and it actually kind of creates a little bit of a speckling on the pear, which is lovely. And then one of the recipes that I was looking at called for doing a sparkling wine, like a
Spumante.
Right. And but I was at the grocery store and I saw some sparkling cider and I thought, what the hey, doesn't that sound delicious? And certainly for those who don't drink alcohol, cooking with alcohol, again, you don't end up with any alcohol. So it's not like you shouldn't do it, but I just thought that sounded really delicious. So you use a bottle of that. It's also cheaper. I mean, it was, you know, $3.12 or something because it was on a special. So so that's what I did. So that you poach it in that, and I actually saved the juices from that afterwards. Oh, and I think there was a 1/4 cup of sugar, which honestly I'm not sure you really need. It's really, if you're going to use it as a syrup, it's meant so that as you continue to cook the syrup, it gets more and more syrupy.
Right.
But I was going to use chocolate sauce, so I didn't do it. But I actually drank it warm, like a cider. So
It
the
was
leftover.
Really good. In fact, we all. drank it.
I actually shared it with everybody, and so again, being the person I am, I love repurposing and reusing. And so I tried it out and warm. It had a little bit of a pear flavor to it, and it had the orange juice in it.
It was
and
really good.
Vanilla. It's really actually, and it of course made the whole house smell delicious. So it has a lot of beneficial effects.
Yes. Yes.
So anyway, back to the pear. So doesn't that look beautiful?
So you peeled the pear.
Yeah.
You left the stem on.
Yes.
If you're being really fancy, you can scoop out the seeds from the bottom, but you don't have to do that.
Yeah, I didn't. I just I go for simple, and you can totally. I mean, that's the classic thing, is to go up with like a melon baller and get out the seeds. And so you can take the time to do that, and it certainly makes it a little more beautiful. But I didn't. Right. And then the other thing is you bring everything to a boil. You put the pears in, and a lot of recipes have you try and keep them upright, and you put a plate on top of it. But I had too big of a pot anyway, so I just let them boil. And since it wasn't a color problem with them, they turned out just great. So again, I'm all about being real in the kitchen and what works, and that worked. And then for the chocolate sauce, again, these are all, how many ingredients did I just talk about? It was water, orange juice, vanilla bean, peppercorns, and the sparkling apple cider. That's it, guys. And again, I'll put the recipe up for you, but I'll also mention how I changed it. And then the recipe I found was going to have like a kind of almost like a whipped cream with cardamom in them, which would be delicious. But since I wanted my chocolate sauce, because I wanted to have a dessert with chocolate, I've developed this chocolate sauce that is all dark chocolate with lower amount of sugar, so it ends up being far more satisfying.
Right.
You know,
it's very intense, but really good.
So I wanted to show you. Oh, this was my sparkling cider. I wanted to show you what I actually used. So that was at the grocery store, and super cheap. So and then for the chocolates that I use for the chocolate sauce, I use the special dark chocolate Hershey's. So there's like I think
that's like a cocoa, right?
It's a cocoa, and where is my recipe for that? I just wanted to go over it, and this is actually on the website, so I will give you the link to it. I actually posted it earlier, just so I would entice people to come visit us. But it's a 1/3 cup of that with the sugar and ground cinnamon, so like a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. And I just put it directly in the pot and whisk it before I turn the stove on, just to blend them. And then you add a cup of fat-free milk, Or if you happen to have the 1% that I went ahead and bought, you can use that up.
Sure.
It's not going to be that many calorie difference, and it's a cup of it. And then you bring it to a boil, you stir it and bring it to a boil, and then you simmer it for, just a couple of minutes really, just to make sure that the sugar dissolves, because there's a half cup sugar, the 1/3 cup of the dark chocolate, cocoa, and then the cinnamon. You put the milk in, and then you bring it to a boil it for a couple of minutes just to dissolve that sugar. And then you take it off the oven, or stove, sorry,
Right.
not the oven. And then you put 2 ounces of dark chocolate, and I wanted to show you what I use, because it really is a bittersweet chocolate. So I got the Ghirardelli, the 60%. So that really is wonderful in it. It creates a wonderful richness to it. So it's just 2 ounces, which is basically half of this. So thank you. That was
Okay, good.
that, but I think
Yep.
you can turn that off. Actually.
I did.
Oh no, the oven's still on. So those are the 2 chocolates. So after you take it off the stovetop, you put in the kind of chopped chocolate. I ended up sort of shredding it, because that's how I do it, because it melts really quick, shaving it. And then you put vanilla extract, a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and then you put a pinch of the kosher salt. So literally I put the kosher salt in my palm, do my hand like this, so I create a pinch, and then I pinch it around into the sauce. And the sweet and savory of this, with the richness of the chocolate, seriously good, seriously good. So this, we need our live spoon here. And the cool thing is, a pear has, about 100 calories in it, and then you poach it, so it has a few more calories, because you've had, it's poached in the orange juice with the apple cider. But again, it's whatever it absorbs. It's not,
it's really not.
It's not a
everything
whole
you got.
lot. And then you do the dark chocolate, and 2 tablespoons of the dark chocolate sauce I created is 67 calories. So you end up with a dessert that's under 200 calories. That's super sexy looking,
Yeah,
really delicious, with lots of flavors. And so we use the live spoon again. The fun thing is, to show you guys, I just really want to demonstrate today. So we have, the chocolate sauce in this, what do we call this kind of a thing?
Cruet, or a gravy boat, or a sauce.
We call it like a gravy boat, but it has chocolate sauce in it.
And then a pitcher.
A pitcher. And so then what we're going to do is take the chocolate sauce, and you can also reheat this up. And so I've got the 2 tablespoons, and then I go at the top, and I just start pouring around. And you can even pour a little bit on underneath it first, but the way this is happening, why would you need to? So don't you just want to eat this up right now? So you just keep pouring it, and then as it sits, depending on how many of these you're doing, because typically you could do it a couple of different ways. I mean, if it's really family style, you can serve everybody up their poached pear and have them put the chocolate sauce on, because that's kind of its own moment and fun. Or I'm sorry, are we obstructing the viewing? And then once you've done this, again, one of the joys of live spoons is the fact that I'm hooking it inside the sauce boat.
Or how else does it go?
Oh, and you know what? Better yet, if I hook it like that, it's going to drip back in there, so the next person who serves up gets a fresh batch. So, are you going to try and show this to everybody? You can't slant it or it will fall, so just...
I'll do my best.
You're doing a great job. But it's really pretty, and if you wanted to put something, pretty to add to it, you could put some mint on the bottom, or some rosemary, something that...
And to do it where you also leave some of the pear so it's not totally covered is also sort of a fun moment. Oops. Which you did, and of course you wouldn't normally be holding it up and trying to keep it from falling over.
You did a good job.
Okay.
So now we're going to try it. So you all can be extremely envious.
Chocolate sauce is really good.
Oh,
here, right here.
This is so good. Oh yeah, I even got those out this time. Oh, 2 forks. But I promise I'll share with you too, Sim. Should we get another fork out for Sim, just so that she doesn't feel slighted?
I think there's something wrong with the 2
I know. So this will be maybe this will be a Julia Child's moment where the pear goes flying as I'm trying to cut this. So
I'll catch it. It won't go flying too far, I promise.
So, oh,
Nice
this is,
job, Mom.
thank you, sweetie. So you probably want a lot of syrup on yours, don't
Of
you?
course.
Mm-hmm. So here we go. Are you ready?
Don't mind me.
Good? Happy making? How does the poached pear? I actually want to kind of taste mine without a whole lot of chocolate on it. Just to, is
Oh,
it
it's wonderful.
fabuloso?
Very good.
That poached pear.
Excellent.
And these are Bosc pears. Part of the wonderful thing about reading things is you don't necessarily know how they really are pronounced. We have a son who made up words because he understood words when he was just an itty bitty kid. He could read them, but he had no idea how to pronounce them. And so one of our favorite memories is the way he would pronounce words that, you know, it had nothing to do with the way they were commonly pronounced, but the way he saw it.
Yeah, it was
Because
good.
he'd never heard it, you know, he just was reading these words. So what we are at that point
Yes.
where we're having fun eating what we created and hopefully making you enjoy it as our mouths are full when we're eating. Oh, and licking.
But we certainly want to say happy holidays to everyone. It's lots of fun having you in our kitchen and showing you all these great things.
And we will see you in 2019. We look forward. Our next one is going to be on January 22nd, I think. Where are my notes? Here we go. So it's January 22nd at 5:30. Same place, same time, January 22nd. And we'll start a whole new year of sharing and caring because we are sharing with you kind of our healthy lifestyle tips and tricks and how we serve it all up on Livliga. We did serve up on Celebrate today because, of course, it's really part of the holidays is
The
celebrating.
season
and
to celebrate.
Celebrate
Yes, it is.
with everyone we love and care about, no matter whether they're here or far away. We want to salute all of you and wish you the happiest of holidays and a wonderful new year and say thank you for being with us on this journey that we're on and coming and sharing these monthly Facebook Lives with us. And I hope you've enjoyed them. Please share them and please give us feedback. If there's something you think would be fun for us to cover in one of these, we'd love to hear your feedback.
And we'd love to do it.
And we'd love to do it if we know how to, or we'll figure out how to do it. You know, give us a challenge. Hey, but happy holidays. Should we sing a song as we go along here? What should we sing?
A quick deck the halls as we.
Deck the halls with boughs of holly. Fa la 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 la.
'Tis the season to be jolly. Fa la 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 la.